Welcome everybody. I want to welcome everyone to the January 18th, 2022 meeting. Official town call meeting for 6 p.m. Time is approximately 6:06 p.m. It's also going to be a Zoom meeting. Again, welcome everybody. Town clerk, if you could call roll. Meeting officially called to order.
Mayor Singer.
Here.
Vice Mayor Luskin. Here. Councilmember Bernstein.
Here.
Councilmember Einstein.
Here.
Councilmember Mendel.
Here. Okay, if everyone could rise. Chief Lovello, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, I appreciate it.
Sure. Repeat after me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Once again, welcome. First, our presentations. Hotwire is not here.
Yeah, they're on Zoom.
Oh, they're on Zoom?
There's no public allowed.
I'm sorry, say it again.
There are no public allowed at the meeting. All public and stuff is on Zoom because of the Omicron outbreak. Alright, so Mayor, before the Hotwire presentation, is she on? Let's go ahead and recognize her. Can we go ahead and get the thing?
I'm listening.
So, we have a, where's she? Alright, so we're not gonna do her, she's in the February meeting with the Hotwire. So Joe first. Is she there, guys?
Wanda, you there? There she is.
Let's unmute her.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can. Go ahead, Mayor, there's a presentation from the League of Cities. Ms. Cornett, go ahead and get started your presentation.
Okay, thank you so much. So good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, and residents. My name is Shonda Burnett, and I'm your ambassador from the Florida League of Cities. For the record, the League is headquartered at 301 South Bruno Street in Tallahassee. For those who are listening who may be unfamiliar with the League, the Florida League of Cities has been the voice of city government since 1922. We have kicked off our 100-year anniversary, and we hope that you all will be celebrating with us this year. Our goal is to serve the needs of municipalities by providing officials and staff with advocacy, training, and expertise, and by standing up for the rights of the governments closest to the people, governments like you. I'm here today because it is my honor to present Mayor Singer and Councilmember Einstein with the Mayor John Land Years of Service Award in honor of 20 years of service to the town of Brentwood.
Mayor Singer?
That's over 20 whole years of service.
Thank you.
The John Land Years of Service Award named in honor of Councilmember John Land, who served his city for more than 60 years, honors elected municipal officials for their extensive years of dedicated public service. This award focuses on city, town, and village's legislative body members who have reached anywhere from 20 to 50 years of service. So at this time, I dropped off the resolutions. I want to read the language of the resolutions to you that you're receiving tonight. It says, whereas America's municipal governments have long relied upon the unselfish leadership of their citizens for local self-government, and Florida's municipal governments share the time-honored role as the level of government closest to the people. And whereas this reliance places extraordinary responsibility upon citizens, municipal elected officials who make significant sacrifices of their time and energy on behalf of their citizens, often for little to no compensation, making this commitment a true labor of love. And whereas municipal leaders strive for excellence in the governance of their city, town, or village and commit themselves to providing quality services, governing effectively, and working to improve the quality of life. And whereas the League has named its Years of Service recognition in honor of John Land, the mayor of Apopka between the years of 1949 and 2014. A leader who leadership experience comes a strengthening in wisdom, discernment, and strong leadership skills that bring tremendous value to the municipal governments of Florida. And whereas Mayor Glenn Singer and Councilmember Bernard Einstein held office in the town of Golden Beach for over 20 years and are recognized for this achievement, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Florida League of Cities that Mayor Singer and Councilmember Einstein are commended for their dedication to the town of Golden Beach and are hereby recognized as outstanding public servants in Florida.
Thank you.
Bernard,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it.
Another 20 years.
I don't think so.
And thank you again, and we'll make sure that we share some pictures with the league, and thank you for being with us today. This Bernard was actually came to the office and dropped off the flags and your pins. Congratulations, thank you for your service over the last.
Thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Mayor, at this
Yeah.
time,
Thank you.
It's been a privilege.
we'd like to have Joe first from Hotwire introduce his team and make his presentation. This is the update that the council asked for as it relates to where we are with Hotwire, the progress and the activity. So Joe, the floor is yours.
Sure, thank you. It's good to see everyone. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to just briefly introduce, and then Rafael and Jessica, who have been on property along with Victor Martinez for the last few months. They will provide you with the updates along the way. You have Rafi and Jessica, who are there handling the day-to-day. David Sejas, who will be responsible for account management once we move this out of our launch process. Victor Martinez in charge of construction, and Kim Zitani, who her team is also in charge of the home evaluations. So on the call here, they're going to provide you with updates, some timelines, as well as what our next steps look like. So thank you for the time, and again, it's great to see everyone. Wish I was in person, but at least we can all see each other smiling. So Rob, you can take it away.
Thank you, Joe. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rafi Vasquez. Like Joe had mentioned, I'm the regional manager for the launch department, overseeing this project from the beginning to end, alongside with Victor Martinez, my colleague Jessica Corrado, and Kim Zitani, and David Sejas. Right. And this night, I wanna first of all thank you for having us this night. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here. Not only as your new partner and service, provider, but we also want to thank you for the opportunity that you have given us to, share with you all the good progress that we have made with this launch phase. Right? So, if you allow me, I'm going to start sharing the screen about the presentation that we have put together for you all. Allow me a few minutes. Can everyone see the screen in the presentation?
Yes.
Awesome. So, as part of the process, and launch phase that, we have been entitled to work with the city of Golden Beach, right? One of the things is like we want to ensure that we're providing you not only with, a high level service and experience to you all, but also best in class technology and service that you can assure that you will enjoy not only for this year and the time coming, but for a long time and into the future, right? So switching over on the slide, I want to give the floor to our construction project manager, Victor Martinez, who's been responsible for the conversion and overbuild of the project and all the infrastructure build out of the city of Golden Beach. Victor, please.
Thank you, Rafi. I appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. My name is Victor Martinez. I'm the construction project manager, and I just want to provide you with some updates as far as where we are today and where we're moving forward. So, I'm glad to say that we have successfully completed the MDF main distribution frame, which is the head end build out for the property, and it's been activated, and it is actually certified and ready to begin deploying services throughout Golden Beach City. So we're very proud of that. So tomorrow we're actually going to start beginning installations. Rafi will be able to touch a little more on that. We are going to be releasing homes in stages. The first stage of homes that we're releasing are 72 homes, so about 19% of the homes that we'll be releasing. Ocean Drive has been quite a challenge from the very beginning. due to the, obviously a lot of, encroachment and, you know, we need to take precautionary measures, in order for us to be able to, you know, get that completed. So, Ocean Drive definitely is gonna be, you know, one of the last, sections that will be completed. Just to kind of give you an idea of where we are with construction, so like I said, 19% is ready for the deployment. It's about 72 units. We're 20% to be released in the next few weeks. It's going to be at 78 units, and those homes, just to give you an idea, are going to be homes running from 400 Golden Beach Drive on the west side, going north all the way through North Island and McKean. So those homes will be next to up and coming, and obviously, as we make progress in the next week and a half, we'll be able to provide more updates. Rafi and Jessica will be able to provide updates and begin scheduling once we get the fiber in the ground. 36% of the property is still pending the build-out, which is about 140 units, comes to 140 units, and then 25% of it includes Ocean Drive, as I had mentioned, is going to be one of the last stages that will be built out. Common area Wi-Fi design has been completed. I've been working very closely with our Wi-Fi team. It's a very complex design that we've just completed. So once we get fiber to all of the associated areas as we build out, we will get all of those components installed and certified before we deploy the services. I'm looking to do that here in the next month or so as each section begins to get completed. That's pretty much all I have as far as the construction is concerned. Does anybody have any questions?
When you say release of 72 homes, what does that mean?
So basically what that means, sir, is when I know that I'm getting close to certifying all of those homes, meaning there's fiber and there's signal in all of those units, I basically reach out to our back office team and I release those homes to them so that they can schedule the actual installation.
So one more quick question. When do you think the first homes will be live?
Tomorrow.
Wow.
No, that's not. Which house will be live tomorrow, Victor? Which house will tomorrow be connecting to the hotwire internet? That's a very bold statement. Which home is it?
Jessica and Rafi will be able to answer that question, which homes will be activated, but we are beginning install tomorrow.
Wow.
What's that?
So I'll take that, Victor. So I just don't wanna jump ahead of the flow of the presentation, but I can definitely answer that question real quick for all of you guys. So, as Victor was saying, we will begin to kick off the install process of activating the city of Golden Beach, right? And then we will take on those first releases that Victor Martinez and the construction team has given to us for scheduling for activation. As far as to how many homes we have scheduled for installation, we have 2 for tomorrow only, right, out of those 72. And we will touch on that topic and more specific into the numbers of what the number of installation is comprised of later on.
Maybe I didn't hear. So when do you expect the first home to be live?
Tomorrow, Mr. Mayor, tomorrow.
So there'll be someone on the.
Rafi, I want to make sure. So that means that the entire backbone of the community is hot and ready to start connecting. Is that what you're stating for the record today?
Only sections.
So Alex, let me elaborate. So we don't have to have the entire backbone complete in order to go live. So once we have segments of the project completed, and as long as our head end has been certified, that means that as we build out fiber to each home, I'm able to start releasing homes for installation. Like I mentioned earlier, we're at 19% already released, which means that our back office team, starting tomorrow, will begin installing, actually activating homes.
Okay, and so the head end unit has been certified.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. That's great news.
Thank you.
I have a question. Is it the homeowner's responsibility to notify, for example, Atlantic Broadband to cut off their service, or is that automatic?
I think it's the homeowners. I mean, It's not, nothing's not automatic.
That's homeowner responsibility. You need to put them on notice that you no longer wish to have that service.
Nothing's done.
Once we're activated, obviously.
Once you're hot, yeah.
Okay.
And I believe on Atlantic Broadband, we may be paying 1 month in advance.
You're right.
So that's another matter. I've never understood their bills to begin with, but
And they're no longer Atlantic Broadband. For the record,
Breezeline.
in fact, we were asked today to officially not use that term in our meetings any longer. They are now baseline communication.
Breezeline,
Breezeline Communications.
maybe Breezeline.
So we've been asked to govern ourselves accordingly. And
And
mentioning
the
your
way I understood this, because I've spoken to somebody from Hotwire, they told me that, you know, we'd like to come in your house and install your line, whatever. However, we're not gonna make you lie until your phone, because I also have phone service, is ported over from Atlantic Broadband.
Breezeline.
Breezeline, sorry. So, for those people who have phones with Breezeline, understand that somebody should have communicated with you from Hotwire
To port the number over.
to port the number over. And originally, they sent me one form over the internet that was incorrect, and then they sent me another one that I think was correct, and I confirmed it came. I said, am I done? You know, are you gonna, and so they said, we could turn you on now, but your phone won't be ported till then.
Mayor, and Councilman, that's excellent, we appreciate that. Let's have Hotwire continue the presentation, because we are in the middle of the time crunch.
It's fine.
So, Hotwire, if you could continue.
Thank you, Alex. So, I'll give the floor to Ken Satanish, who's gonna be, covering what is the updates on the consultation phase. So, Kim, if you may, please.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to give you a quick update of what's going on. Consultations, we have completed and have pending orders 182 customers. Pending and scheduled for the next few days, I have 5. Non-responders, we're stuck at this 159, 155, somewhere in there. Right now, we're at 159. I have 42 either empty lots, houses under constructions, or customers who have currently declined our service. One of the feedback that we're getting when we're making outbound calls to the residents who have not yet placed their order is they are waiting to see what happens. So they want to see a couple of people installed. So I'm hoping as Victor releases properties, this week we tagged 24 homes with a door tag that had not responded to us out of Victor's 72 releases, trying to get them to call into us. I'm gonna give it a few days for the installations to start happening, and then I'm gonna make outbound calls again to these 24 residents that, we are ready to install the services from Hotwire.
Mayor, Kim, that's great news. Mayor, that's great, Kim, that's great news, and Mayor, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to be very rude to Hotwire, and to the council. Here's what we need to do because of quorum requirements. I'm gonna ask Hotwire to table the balance of their presentation for your February meeting. I will have them fully brief staff, and I will then brief each of you. But in the interest of not losing quorum, I'm gonna ask the council to suspend the Hotwire presentation. I've been in communication with their vice president, and he's okay with this. I'm gonna ask the council to take up the motion to set the agenda, because I need to move the agenda around, because in less than 15 minutes, I may lose quorum. So what we need to do is in that order. So Joe, and to your team, I apologize. You guys will brief me later. I will brief the council, and at the February meeting, we'll have you guys come in for a summary meeting. But it's 6:30, and I've got 15 minutes before I start the meeting.
No problem at all. You have a great night. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
guys, I
See you
apologize.
later.
Thank you guys, thanks for the update.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, moving right along.
Good night.
Motion to set agenda, additions, deletions, removal of items from consent agenda, or changes to the agenda.
Mayor, the administration is strongly urging that the agenda be moved to the following manner. Immediately after setting the agenda, then you take up item Q number 4. By the way, Mayor, don't forget, I need you to go sign something in my office real quick. Then after Q number 4, I need to take up Q number 1. After Q4 and Q1, we'll go immediately into the CIP project update. After CIP project update, we'll do the mayor's report, followed by the regular order of the agenda. So, motion to set agenda immediately to Q number 4, then Q number 1, then the CIP update, then mayor report, and the following, the balance of the agenda.
Motion to approve the
Second.
amendment.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mayor, can you go
Yeah,
sign something for me in my office?
you do,
real quick?
4.
I need the vice mayor, Madam Vice Mayor.
What time do you have to leave?
The mayor's out of the office, I need you to take over the gavel of the meeting, I need you to bring up item number Q, number 4. Mayor, it's on my desk, just go ahead and go sign it. Madam Vice Mayor,
Okay.
item Q4.
A resolution of the town council amending the employment agreement with Sylvia Dobriars.
Madam Clerk, you can read the item.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Golden Beach, Florida, amending the employment agreement for contract employee Sylvia Drobiars to provide administrative assistant services in the Code of Compliance Department, providing for implementation and for an effective date.
I need a motion to,
Motion to
Second.
approve.
there's a motion.
Second.
Second. Okay, real quick, this is an employment agreement similar to the one that we brought to you for Ms. Goodman, who's working in the finance department. We found that there are financial savings by us contracting employees that come in and provide us part-time services. In this current climate, we have to offer some incentives. This is a similar agreement to the one that you approved at the November meeting for the finance department. This one is for our code enforcement department. Ask your favorable approval of this item.
Are there any council comments? Open to the public? Roll call vote?
Vice Mayor Luskin?
Yes?
Councilmember Einstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Bernstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendel?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Madam Vice?
Very nice.
Item number Q number 1.
Q number 1?
Q1.
There is no Q1.
T1.
Sorry, Q number 6. Q6.
A resolution of the town council providing for the uniform method of leaving, collecting, and enforcing non-ad valorem assessments for high-speed internet services.
And Madam Clerk, just let the record reflect that when earlier we had the agenda, I said when it was number 6, that was a scrivener's error or speaker's error, so just let that on the record.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Golden Beach, Florida, providing for the uniform method of levying, collecting, and enforcing non-ad valorem assessments for high-speed internet services in accordance with the provisions of Section 197.3632 Florida statutes throughout the incorporated area of the town for the fiscal year beginning on October 1, 2022, stating a need for such levy, providing for the mailing and transmittal of this resolution, and providing for an effective date.
A
Motion?
to approve is always
Motion approved.
Second.
Thank you.
and,
Town manager, can you explain?
the gavel will go back to the
Okay.
mayor, now that he's back in the room, and let me have the town attorney
Sure.
take over this item.
Very briefly, this resolution is part of the overall process of imposing a special assessment for all of our hot wire activity. And what this is this sets in place the actual collection process so that when, and if, and I expect you will, pass a special assessment, that assessment will appear on your tax bill and when it comes from the county. And so the county, state law and the county requires that we pass this resolution and publish it as a condition to putting those charges on the tax bill. So, is there a motion?
Yes, there was a motion and a second. Mayor, again, like I briefed each of you, independently, tonight, we're not gonna get into the discussion as to what that rate is gonna ultimately be. Over the course of this, winter break, just before the last meeting, we executed a contract with a rate study advisor who's putting together our rate study, to look at to look at how the rate will work and what we could fund on the rate. Recently, this council has asked the town attorney and I to explore other possibilities as to what the rate number will be. I've shared with each of you some of the concerns in terms of wanting to set the rate so that we don't have to every year then reauthorize the rate because of the 3% escalator in the contract. And so we're exploring those options. We're not ready tonight to talk about exactly what that rate is going to be. We understand from the community and from the residents that we would like to keep that rate as low as possible, and help meet our financial obligations as it relates to all of our commitments with Hotwire and possible future commitments with that organization. Once we're ready to get that rate, and Steve, what's the timeline? What comes next? By when does the council actually have to vote on a dollar amount? Do we know that?
The only thing that's restricted by time is this resolution. In terms of giving the county the rate that needs to go on tax bill, it's like your regular notice to the tax assessor, which I think goes in July.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah. Do we have to enact an ordinance
Yes,
for the
we will.
assessment? Okay, so
Ultimately, we will.
so there'll be two. So in terms
But
of
we have months to
yeah.
get to
So
that.
that was my point. So in terms of like setting the actual assessment, right? There'll be an ordinance for first reading
Second reading.
and an ordinance for second reading, and then there'll be another meeting where we actually set the rate, right? So we set the framework, and then we set the rate. So we're still a couple of months away. Very important to the community. It is clear now, and I want the residents at home to understand this. It is clear now that there will be an assessment for our obligations under the Hotwire agreement. What that number is still to be determined. So we will, on a moving forward basis, it seems like we have enough support from the dais to have an assessment on your tax roll, and then your debt service millage and your general fund millage. That train has left the station. What that number is still to be determined. I will say this publicly. All of our council members have made it clear that that number cannot be too large. It needs to just meet our financial obligations, and it needs to be responsible. The other commitment is that we don't have to set it every year. And so we're working towards that goal. We are not prepared tonight to talk about rate numbers because we're all over the place. But I want the residents to know that does the town of Golden Beach will now have an assessment? It seems like there's a commitment from at least 3 of you, and so far it's been from all of you, that we will have an assessment for communication services and the Hotwire agreement. And so this starts that framework. Once we do this, yes, you could still back out at the 9th minute, so you could always say no to the ordinances and vote them down, but we are planning and moving forward with all of our commitments with the understanding that there is a commitment from at least 3, if not 4, and hopefully all 5 of you, that we will have an assessment come this September. And so I wanted to put that on the record.
Just real quickly, if we had voted it down, that would mean that it would come out of our
General fund.
Okay. So the understanding was that this was going to be a non-ad valorem assessment. Real quickly, and tell me if I'm off base here. For some reason, non-ad valorem taxes are collected on a different basis than ad valorem taxes, even though they appear on the tax bill. The fiscal year for non-ad valorem taxes is from October 1st through September 31st, rather than January 1st through December 31st. Now, how does that apply to us? I just don't know, but I know that it is the rule, and they are somewhat prepaid Because when you do a real estate transactional thing and you have a non-ad valorem thing like a special taxing district or something like that, the seller gets credit for taxes that he paid even though you're closing in next year. It's a little crazy, but it's the way it works for those non-ad valorem taxes. And when we get our tax bills, when people pay them, are they paying for the next year in advance? Because that's the way the county sort of have it set up.
One's based on calendar year, one's based on fiscal year.
Well, that's not really.
That's what he's
not
saying.
really true. I know, but that's not really true.
That's not,
That is, you are paying your assessment. There will be a proration as there is with taxes, okay? So your assessment will be prorated. If the seller has lived there and paid for half the year, then they will take half of that bill, and the buyer will assume the second half, okay? So, whether it's a January 1 to December 31 year or not, you still have a prorated charge on the sale of a home. Now, unless your contract provides differently. If your contract says, no, you pay all assessments that have been certified and imposed for the year, then maybe the buyer picks it up. That could be a contract issue between the buyer and the seller.
I don't want to,
Okay.
by the way, Councilman Anderson, so when the town was, remember when you guys had your sewer assessment? You had special assessment sewer 1 and special assessment sewer 2 that we retired in 2011?
yes.
Those dollars came in at the same schedule as the ad valorem. So we're gonna have to look at that, but we would receive the special assessment sewer dollars in line with the ad valorem dollars. So I'll have to look into it a little bit more.
When you
That's new to me.
when you pay your tax bill, you'll pay your assessment. The assessment
At the same
dollars-
time, no
Yes.
question about it.
And the assessment dollars will be sent to a account by the county to our account that's set aside for, special assessments.
Totally understood.
Right.
However, let's say, for the sake of argument,
Yes.
we say it's $600, okay, as the assessment.
Right.
On the December bill, on the November bill, it appears as $600
For the
that
year.
you paid.
For that year.
Yes. Your taxes, if it was December 31st, you paid your entire taxes, correct? But as to your $600 that you sort of paid, you sort of paid for 2 months, for November and December. It actually paid October, November, and December. But you didn't pay for and you paid for the rest of those months in advance. Now, I don't know, something to think about, because they're working on different, it doesn't matter. It really,
Well, we're gonna investigate.
it's not,
To us, it doesn't matter. In terms of a buyer and seller, how they allocate
yeah, that's not, for
those
it's not.
are a
for-
separate issue from us. We are collecting the annual assessment.
Right.
It will come due and payable in December or November, and you will pay it like you do with your tax bill. And we collect that fee for the year from the property owner.
Understood.
Right.
But if somebody got, whatever it was, we're gonna get our first bill for $600. I'm just throwing a number out there, next November, correct? Something like that. When we get our tax bill.
Right.
Will that have paid for what, from when to when? From the date of service, from February through?
Well, that's another.
Okay,
so that's something to think about.
I understand that,
Okay.
and the way, and when we impose a special assessment, we will have a date from which it is effective,
Okay,
and what
so
it is
something to
paying,
think
and
about.
what it is paying.
Well, in addition to that, this is the other wrench to throw in there. we still have to, as a community, decide what are we doing about this first year, right? Because as Homeschool Live, once they reach the threshold, we are now on the hook for making our financial obligations to them for going live, even though, so I have always, from day number one, have always said, we may in the first year have to bill our residents directly ourselves, not through the tax bills, and the attorneys have to work on how to do that, because if I get a check, if I get the first bill in April, let's say, because they're going live tomorrow, the town will have to pay for that, but we're gonna have to recoup that through a direct collection that we do, maybe not through the tax bills. We have to figure out how to mechanically do that, which we've done in the past. We have billed our residents for,
Well, in addition to that, though, you have one other issue, which is that your different residents are gonna have different months where they're live. So we're not gonna, the ones that are live might be assessed differently.
To that point, we structured it where we don't start getting billed until like 85, it's a high threshold. So even though they're live, we're getting free months until the majority of the community is live. So it kind of balances its way out. Steve and the mayor really hammered in on that, on the contract. So that's not my fear, but my fear is if we reach that 85% or 90% threshold in April, we have to go, from April through December.
There'll be a gap in which we need to fund that, where we don't have money coming in yet.
I think at one point before we said that we may actually take on those months
We
ourselves.
did. In fairness to Councilman Rendell, there was at some point, and we still may be able to do that, right? Where we said, well, in the first year, we'll just eat it. And that's still a possibility.
For the first couple months, whatever it is, whatever doesn't make sense.
And I think that would be a very good sign and gesture to the residents to show them that during the trial phase while we're building out, that we make those commitments. And we may have the resources to do that, and in fact, that may be the easiest way to do it, but I just wanna make sure all of our options are open and on the table to see.
Part of the work, part of the work that our consultant, special assessment consultant is doing is actually working on the schedule so that we work that in, and we will tell them whether we're going to absorb that first month, and then they can, from that point forward, determine the rate and the timing of the payments and when they're for. So we probably should have a date when everybody begins their payment, whatever that particular date is, so that everybody is on the same schedule. And you don't have people paying for months, I only had 2 months in this year and 2 months in that year. And so that's part of the work that our consultant is doing. They're gonna set it up so that when you pay, you've paid for the entire year and nobody is, on a separate year.
I just thinking about that when you were saying that we have to submit our special assessment by a certain time. So if that special assessment date is, let's say it's July, and we don't know when we're going to be at 85%. Whatever, but whenever we don't know when we're going to hit that threshold, 85, 90%. It might be 9 months from now, 10 months. Are we just going to take a guess? Is the person who's the special assessment advisor just going to kind of take a guesstimate based on where Hotwire is at that time to figure out? Because it's going to be almost a year in advance that we're anticipating.
No, it won't be that long.
Or 6 months, 7 months?
No, but look, the reality is that we'll set our rate in September, right? By September, I think the entire community will be.
Oh, you think we'll be 85% for that? Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, then that's easy.
If we're connecting houses tomorrow,
It's January.
Yeah,
And
that,
you're gonna set it as part of
9 months.
at the time you impose your taxes for the year, so you're gonna know.
And these guys are incentivized.
okay.
They want it.
No, that makes sense. I take that.
They want it.
I withdraw my question. That's been answered.
So I think we're gonna.
Okay, guys, any other question or comments?
Just real quickly.
I want the residents and the council to know we are looking at the rate to talk about the other issues like our commitments to Hotwire and the other contracts that we have with them. So we're exploring all of our options. That's why we're not ready tonight to talk about it.
Can I just make one emphasis when we're talking about this, which is that one of the big selling things to me about this is we're getting better service and for less pay. Right. And even though we're doing it through special assessment, it's basically special assessment instead of people paying directly.
Correct.
And I just think we need, when we're communicating this, just to make sure we're, like, it's, like, yeah, you're getting special assessed, but you're no longer having to pay your,
Well, if you notice at your November meeting, one of the things that I stressed to the residents, and this is important because our residents need to be educated on what they're selecting. If you go with our 1 gigabyte internet, which is more than enough speed, with your managed in-home Wi-Fi system at whatever rate we set, and you get their digital Premier internet package and nothing else, none of the other things that they're selling you, you're always, of course, allowed to buy whatever you want. But if you keep those two basics, on average, in Golden Beach, our cable payers today will see a savings of about $142.
I just think that's so important when we keep talking
And so
special
we've been
assessment.
trying to educate everyone on that. Now, not the people who do the plus, right? But if you compare the former cable provided video package and their internet package without the in-home managed Wi-Fi system, that's what we're seeing. And so now when you start adding the extras, no, that goes out of the window. But that's why, in fact, in the last newsletter, we put in there a comparison to show you just get the video package and our package, and your combined bill is going to be, if our numbers stay where they tend to be, your bill should be about $110 combined. Now, if you want all the extras and 15 boxes at your house and 17 remotes, that goes out the window. But if you have smart TVs and you get, remember, our package, when we negotiated, you get your free DVR with up to 1,000 hours of recordings, so, and you get the box for free, the ONT, and the in-home managed Wi-Fi system. But you're absolutely right. Now we have to educate. We're trying not to do too much of that because, of course, Hotwire is trying to, sell their products like the phone, as an example, and the extra boxes and desktops and the burglary alarm system, and they have every right to do that. So we're trying to be fair partners in this process. The Councilman said you had a question earlier.
Yeah, real quickly, just on that, when they did the sewer assessment business, for a while there, Dade County used to send you a separate coupon to collect that.
Yes, in the beginning.
We're going back 15 years ago, and then they said, we're out of that business.
No, you're going back 30 years.
25 years
I've
ago.
been here 15 years.
That was 25 years ago.
They sent, the Golden Beach had on sewer one, they collected, then they got Dade County to collect. But it wasn't on our tax bill, it was a separate coupon.
Any other council comments regarding item number 6?
One other thing on the
Sure.
Hotwire. I heard briefly mentioned by them and whatever, and maybe you can elaborate. It's sort of like a monthly seed program in your house, and I don't know.
CSEA.
Like, see how it goes with your boxes, if you wanna change something, if you wanna put another drop in, if you wanna do something.
Yes.
And I said, like I said, there's a lot coming at us. I don't know how this is all gonna work.
Correct.
And they said, well, you're gonna have a month after we install this.
And you'll have more than that.
Okay,
You'll have-
just so that,
And you'll have more than that. So, and again, they have been willing to bend over and
Okay.
backwards to help accommodate.
Okay, fine.
And so the idea is, we'll have 6 months after they put the last house live with a staff member to help troubleshoot, and if they need to go back and tweak and if you thought your TV was smart and you need to add another box, all of that they'll be working with you, and we'll be working with you. We have a team of staff and their staff working hand in hand to make the rollout. What worries me, if you ask me, Mr. Manager, what are you most concerned about tonight? What I'm most concerned about tonight is the 159 non-respondents. We are obligated to pay a minimum number of homes, okay? The number that we're at, we're currently at 182, does not meet our minimum. So we've got to get the 159 that seem to be avoiding them. We need to be a little more aggressive. And so we'll start our campaign of going door to door to those homes and saying,
what number, Alex, what number do we have?
there's 159 that have not responded, 182 that have.
And how many do we need to get?
I don't know that exact number, but it's like in the 276 number. It's like 270.
It's a lot more.
It's like 2/3?
It's 276. Like, I think our number that we guaranteed is.
No, I'm saying, but it's a lot more than what we have.
We're about 100 shy.
And that means extra service beyond.
No,
No,
just
no,
minimum
no.
service.
Well, we guarantee, we will pay, irrespective of connections, 250,
Of minimum
270 services. The goal is, and here's where it's important to our residents. of the 270, whatever number it is, a percentage of that has to sign up for cable, which we think that they will, in order to get the negotiated bulk rates. If not, you go to a retail rate. And so those moving numbers is what has me worried. We're gonna get there, we're gonna get more aggressive. It was the holidays, they started in November, but we're gonna get there. So I will have a better update for you in February. At this point, Mayor, I'd like for a motion to.
Just the basic, how much is the basic service? If somebody, you know, in order.
I don't have it in front of me.
Ben, yeah,
Rates,
we're gonna get to all that, we're gonna go through the numbers.
Alex, do you have a list of the houses that haven't responded?
Yes.
Okay, so we're allowed to.
Yes, and we get them all the time. I get weekly updates. And, Councilman Einstein, Destiny will give you the rate sheet, so you can have the rate sheet.
Okay.
I'm gonna, any, public comments? Need to open it to the public? Destiny, any public comments?
Nope.
The public?
Destiny.
Destiny, any public comments?
Nope.
No?
Just make sure there's nobody raising their hands or waving, and anyone who needs to be unmuted. I know that the majority of participants are staff. Are there any non-staff? Sion, S-I-O-N. Sion, are you a resident who wishes to speak on this item? Let's go ahead and unmute them, just in case. Justin, S-I-O-N.
Oh, I admit that person, somebody's trying to get into the meeting. Oh,
Okay, so the answer is no. Mayor, no one's.
Okay, with that, I'll, close it to the public.
Mayor, so you're closing the public hearing as well.
Closing the public hearing as well, correct. Sorry, so we'll do a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Singer,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Luskin,
Yes.
Councilmember Bernstein,
Yes.
Councilmember Einstein,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendel.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion passes.
So with that, we're gonna go back to the
We're going to go to the CIP updates.
CIP update then.
So the reason we're going to CIP, and I know some of you are going to be leaving and participating via Zoom, and that's fine. So the reason we're going to CIP update next is because the CIP update is where we're going to talk about all of the projects that this administration is working on your behalf, and we want to make sure that the council, the majority of you, are buying into what we're working towards moving forward. So real briefly, as you know, we just finished paving Center Island Drive and the Center Island Pump Station. We are still waiting for the Center Island Pump Station control panels. They have not been received, but we have a redundancy plan in place to put our backup generators on site to run the pumps should we need them, should a wet weather that occurs. The island has been milled, it's been resurfaced, and the pump station is not in service. It's nothing that we can do, and it's not the contractor's fault. In fact, the state of Florida, the Department of Environmental Protection, have given us a waiver knowing that some of the issues that we're having has to do with the global supply chain issues that we're seeing. So just know that the Center Island Pump Station is underway. And we're working on that. The Civic Center, if you can notice across the street, we're going to be pouring the third floor sometime early next week. The second floor and the structure is going up very aggressively. That project is going smoothly. There have been some owner-driven requests to change a couple of the lighting. So whenever an owner request goes out, we are responsible for those changes. We will ultimately be bringing the council items to ratify these owner changes. Most of them have been under my spending threshold, so I've been approving them under the $25,000 threshold that I have. We are going to be having a meeting tomorrow to talk about some issues underneath the building as it relates to asphalt and flammability and possible being a fire hazard for the building, and we're going to be probably driving another change order. But so far, the contractor has been working with us. As you know, that project guarantees the delivery of 2 tennis courts, 1 pickleball court, and a basketball court in this footprint as part of the project. During the course of the last couple of months, we have been listening to our community and to our residents. And our residents would rather not have us try to put a square box into a round hole, and would like for us to look at this complex. And when I talk about the complex today, I'm talking about everything from the top lots to the back of the building up to the corner of Public Works. And looking at this complex and seeing how we can maximize what we can build in our community as it relates to recreational amenities, a community wellness center, a community center for our residents, and look at it with two sets of eyes. One, with the possibility of moving the pump station out of the way so we can maximize what recreational activities we can provide. With the eyes of knowing that this building may not meet the current codes and it may not be a viable option to try to salvage this just because we believe that there's some history in this building. And so over the course of the last couple of months, the mayor and I have executed 3 contracts with a firm called Perkins & Wills. Perkins & Wills is an internationally renowned architectural firm that is providing contracts with a firm called Perkins & Wills. Perkins & Wills is an internationally renowned architectural firm that is providing the town now planning services. Some of their recent accolades have been the community center off of 163rd Street in Sunny Isles, which I will personally take each of you for a tour of that facility, because when I visited that facility for a meeting of the city manager's meeting, it's what led me to say we need to stop what we're doing and rethink trying to put a square box into a round hole and look at this holistically. So we signed 3 contracts with them. The first contract calls for us to look at the interior spaces of the new Civic Center and how to make it feel the bathrooms meet at a minimum what Sunny Isles did at their community center. Because if Sunny Isles could put $9 million worth of enhancements into their community center, our city hall should feel and have that look. So they're working on interior design spaces. We have a resident who has recently donated money to help offset some of our costs. And so the mayor and I shifted some of our budget dollars to look at how we can allocate money to making the facility grander than what it is. As you know, we were being delivered a basic building. We want to take the opportunity to look at what we can do to make some enhancements. That was the first contract. The second contract is take this campus as a raw canvas and give us some ideas of what we can do if money, not if money wasn't an option, but a concern, but with a conservative number, what can we do to repurpose this site? And so they're looking at a couple of options. Tearing everything out, repositioning all of our requests, more pickleball courts, a new tot lot. Our tot lot is over 20 years old. A new shelter for our residents, and more importantly, the third contract, give us some ideas of what kind of a wellness community health building, community center we could build if we could locate it wherever we want, that would then that would go hand in hand with the new facility, and not just try to salvage things for the sake of salvaging them. If we're going to be the premier community in where to live, if we're going to be asking our community to become world class, we need to start looking at offering well-planned, well-thought-out facilities and amenities as it relates to our park spaces, and not just try to make ends meet, which is what we've tried to do. And I take responsibility for that. We've never had the resources to really say, okay, let's gut everything. So what you're going to see us working on over the next couple months is a lot of planning, exploring options, and trying to understand if we want to go in that direction and can we afford it. So the third part of what we have done, and you'll have an item tonight, is looking at all of our revenue sources and seeing what our capacity is as a community, given the needs of our community. So one of the things that we're looking at is asking potentially our voters to allow us to issue new debt while holding our debt service and issuing the debt that we've paid down. As you know, we've paid down over $7 million of our GEO bond, and we may be asking our residents, if this council wishes us to do so, to allow us to redraw that balance, so that we can use those dollars for projects like the Wellness Center. On top of that, we are looking at, I'm not sure if you have seen, but our intercoastal homes are now selling for $14, $15 million. Our homes on Ocean are selling for over $20 million. And so we're starting to look at enhanced security needs on both the intercoastal and on Ocean, and how can we fund those projects. And so we're looking at that. As you know, when Blue Stream Fiber was a contender for the Hotwire contract, both Blue Stream Fiber and Hotwire presented us with proposals for intercoastal and waterway cameras. The cheapest or the least cost-effective before COVID was in the $900,000 range, and then somewhere in the $1.4 million range. So we're exploring all of the demands that are now being placed on this administration as it relates to security concerns, as it relates to protecting people's investments, as it relates to protecting the wealth that's come into our community, especially on the waterways. And so we'll be working on those. Nothing is set in stone. What we are asking this council is to allow this administration to continue to explore all of the wonderful things and opportunities that we may have, and let us bring to you recommendations, and should you choose not to move forward, we will accept that. But what's important for us to understand is we need to start talking about what is the future of Golden Beach. This May will be celebrating 93 years of existence. And so is Golden Beach of 2022 the same community that it was even in 2008? And what are the new demands that we are hearing from our new residents? Over 55% of our residents are new residents. Over
How many?
55%.
Since
Since 2019. In 2019.
we've had 55%.
55% turnover based on our lien search letters alone. Okay, so understanding that based on the number of lien letters that we've seen, assuming that most of them are not refinancing, right? We've seen a 55% change of hands in our request. So we know that our community has changed, the dynamic of our community has changed. If you look at just real estate alone, right? A home that sold in 2019 for $4 million just closed in November for $16.5 million. Same home, less than 3 years. And so we've got to be adaptive as a community to meet the security concerns and to meet the challenges that we're seeing. We know that staffing is an issue. We know that being able to provide security in new manners is an issue. We've seen an increase in cars being stolen, in jet skis being stolen, in people coming onto people's seawalls, and we do not want to be the community that did not plan accordingly for that. Indian Creek is a perfect community that we would like to image ourselves as it relates to waterway securities. In Indian Creek, as soon as a kayak comes within a unreasonable distance, there are proximity meters that notify the police that we need to be vigilant in what's going on in the waterways. It is our job as a community to safeguard all of the recent investments that we're seeing. Not that we haven't done so in the past, but we've got to stay modernized. In addition to that, the mayor and I will be bringing to the council as early as February, no later than March, an item for your consideration to finally build the Messini Wall and finish the Terracina Wall. We are going to be asking the council to look at the dollars that we saved out of last year's budget and allocate them for the wall at Messini. Now, that is an item that this community will have to decide as a council. But what we started to do as an administration is starting to speak to each of you independently so we cannot lose momentum. And so the goal is that if there is a consensus among the majority of the council in terms of which projects become priorities, we will be adaptive to meet those needs. And so as early as February, no later than March, we'll look at the Messini Wall, and we're gonna then hopefully, sooner than later, talk about taking on new debt. The reason I say sooner than later is if we wait till November or to our elections to ask the voters to give us the authority to borrow money, these historically low rates may no longer be here. And let me remind this council that because, and I take full responsibility, that because we took longer than we probably, well, we couldn't anticipate it. But remember when we refinanced, the rate went up almost a full point because timing was off? We may even ask the community as early as April or May to allow us to take on new debt so we can lock in these historically new rates. I don't know what the timeline is, but we're looking at all of our options. So tonight, I've asked you to approve an item to allow a financial advisor to come in and work with me. So there's that, we've thrown a lot at you. Here's what I do not want. And I urge you to please work with us. We do not want any member of our council to feel like they have not been a part of this vision planning and these changes that we're looking at doing today. However, we can't wait for council meetings to have direction from council. So as I meet with each of you independently, you need to be honest, open, and feel free to share with me whether or not the direction that we're trying to take the community now is if we're on the right path. And if we're not, that's fine. And of course, everything that we do will be coming to the council at an open council meeting for an open dialogue and an up or down vote. What we're asking is just to give us a little bit of leeway as we start to plan all of these things to bring them to your attention. The 3 contracts that were executed with Perkins and Wills were done so under my spending authority with the consent of the mayor, which is how this city runs. I cannot authorize any spending or execute any agreements without the consent of the mayor. So those 3 contracts were done under my authority with the consent of the mayor, and those were done so that we can kind of start getting our vision of where we're gonna go. So that's what we've been working on, and that's kind of where we're heading. The attorney's been working, is gonna be working with us hand in hand to look at, how we can look at different revenue sources, to help meet the growing challenges of our community. There is another school of thought. The other school of thought, and I hate to even talk about it because I don't want the residents that we're even exploring this right now, is a rate increase to our millage. Right? So if we were to increase our millage, we increase revenues. The challenge that I have with a millage rate increase, which I am not proposing or are we advocating, is that we've made a commitment to our community that we would try to live within our means, right? And so 8.4 mils is among the highest combined millage rate in the state, even though the commitment that we made in 2008 was that we would not go higher than 8.5 mils. I would like for us to just keep our minds open to all of the possibilities available to us. Let me also just share with you this news without getting into details. And this is not a CIP update, but this is a reality fact wake-up call. We will be sitting in negotiations with our police department, hopefully no later than March, to begin a contract renewal. Let me be very blunt. What we pay our police officers, which we were in the middle of the pack, when we negotiated the last contract, we are now bottom of the barrel. And so we will have to be making some significant changes to our contract if we want to remain competitive and if we want to be able to recruit people to come work in our community. We have lost 4 police officers in the last month and a half to other cities because our non-competitive wages. And so we as a community will have to start to address that in the next contract. I'm not gonna get more details than that, but know that it is a concern of the mayor and I. As you know, during your last budget, you authorized us raising our minimum wage to $17 an hour. All of that has a burden on your general fund. And so we are hoping that with the increased home values, we will be able to offset those demands without a millage rate increase. That is our commitment. And if we need to cut staffing or we need to cut programming, we will. But we also don't want to lose sight of all of the possibilities that we have with all of these great projects that we're talking about. And we haven't even talked about modernizing A1A signages. If you think of the fountains on A1A and the sign at the beach pavilion and the 2 fountains at the Strand, that's not what we haven't talked about. We haven't talked about the outdated furniture at the beach. The beach furniture was bought, believe it or not, 12 years ago. So modernizing that, mailboxes that need to be replaced, and the list goes on, right? We all have pet projects that we would like to see on that list. And so just know that we are trying to balance the future of Golden Beach and the renaissance that we're currently living in. I've been long-winded, I think I've covered all of my points, I stand ready for questions from the council.
Go on, Judy.
You commented during your little speech there that staffing is an issue. In what way?
Well, you know, being able to retain staff, look, COVID impacted us in the building department. We were short-staffed with inspectors, we were short-staffed with the building official. We've lost 4 police officers in the last month and a half. I just lost our brand new beach attendant that we hired. He just quit last week. So we're being affected by the national and international staffing crisis that we're seeing as a result of this pandemic. And so we just need to be cognizant of the fact that we're seeing our overtime budget go up because I need to bring in police officers on overtime to meet our staffing obligations. We wanted to make sure that we did not have a single incident occur during the holidays, and we did not have a single incident occur during the holidays because we put our money where our mouth is. We know where the priorities are. The priorities are keeping your investment safe and protecting your families, and we're putting our money there, and we'll continue to do so. But we are affected by the same challenges. Look, I was out for a week and a half because of COVID.
Okay.
And so that's what I mean by staffing challenges.
The interior design, the suggestions that Perkins and Will would make for the interior design of the Civic Center. Obviously, that wouldn't have anything to do with the fixed items that design and build bring with it.
So yes and no. So I'll give you a perfect example. I think I'm gonna date myself, but you know, when you walk into your typical government bathroom, right? You see like we have at the Beach Pavilion, you see those ugly silver partition walls, right? And your typical ceramic white sink, right? When I give you a tour of the Sunny Isles Community Center and take you to their bathrooms, you would think that you're walking into one of the most luxurious 5-star hotel that there is.
But that's not a design and build.
No, our design build was metal partition ceramic faucets.
And we're kind of locked into
Yeah, we are.
without a great cost.
But if you go there, Judy, some of the things they did are simple.
Yes.
It's not like it's really expensive, and I hope you guys
In
get
other
the
words,
opportunity to look at
simple
there.
to make it look luxurious.
Well,
Exactly.
here's the point. Here's what we're trying to achieve. I would hate for us, and I have to find the money, but I would hate for us to cut corners on something that, like, you know, when people come to our town hall rec space on the chambers, right? I would hate for them to walk into a typical, you know, government bathroom and then go to Sunny Isles for a meeting and say, wow, why couldn't Golden Beach deliver something like this? Especially if we're talking about, you know, a couple $1,000s to help make we will get a credit for what we paid for, right? So this is all about credits and deltas, right? So we will get a credit for what we paid for in the design build and ask them to maybe put in, instead of Formica sinks, porcelain sinks.
Okay, I only bring it up because there was such a strong stress as to this is what we pay for, this is what
It
you
is.
get, and you do not deviate.
It is.
But as the mayor said, there's small pieces
But
that would make a big difference.
But if you notice how I started this conversation, we are allowed in a design build project to have owner-driven changes, right?
Right.
And so as long as they're owner-driven, we then own that liability. And so, and again, these are all going to be brought to you later on, so you could say yes or no, we're interested in doing this. But the idea is, instead of getting a very basic, boring interior design, that we try to make some enhancements to it so that we have to be the envy, I think, as a community, and offer amenities and spaces to our residents and our visitors that are at least at the same level of Bow Harbor and Sunny Isles. Because if not, I think that it takes away from what we have been working towards these last 15 years to be the premier community with world-class amenities and world-class services. And I could tell you, I'm going to give you an example. And Mayor, I'm going to steal your story. One of our new residents who moved here from California was so excited about the holiday gifts that we gave that he bragged to all of his friends saying, Nowhere else in the world or in the country do cities do these small little things that we do, like the cakes for Memorial Day or the gifts. And that's what sets us apart. Our residents know that we as a community offer white glove service, and we need to continue to do that. If we don't, then what's our purpose? If we're not progressing, if we're not progressing and trying to stay ahead of what everyone else is doing, then we become stale. Our values have grown. Yes, COVID does take a lot of credit for what's happening, but a lot of the lore for Golden Beach is what you, as a council, directed us to do over the last 15 years by making the $53 million investments that we've made in our community by only asking our residents to pay for $14 million. And so all we're saying is we need to adapt. I need to adapt as your manager and make sure that we're still being at the forefront of what our community is now expecting of us. We have a different type of clientele in our community today, and we want to make sure that we do not become stale or mediocre. Or mediocre.
And we always have to keep looking to enhance Golden
I
Beach,
totally
to
agree.
make it better. I mean, that's been our philosophy since we started.
That's
So
why
always
there's been a
just
55% turnover.
right, make it better, better, better. What can we do? What's the next step? And by hiring Perkins, I think it was great. When Alex first took me over there, you know, I was expecting how nice could a place be, and I went in there and I was like, holy cow, these guys did an amazing job.
I'll take each
and,
of you.
And it wasn't that we're looking to spend millions of dollars. There's a lot of things that we can do to simplify it, to make the town hall really, really enhancing and very appealing and very aesthetically beautiful and set us apart from everywhere else. We don't have to do it all, but at least we're gonna get some opinions.
It's certainly something that's,
Of course, and this is a couple things. Contractor's favorite words, change order. You know, that is in the parlance. Just give me a little feel in terms of our contractor, because we've worked with him a little bit. When you say you want granite instead of Formica top, and let's say one cost, he says, well, your credit for your Formica top, and I don't know if you have a schedule.
We do have a schedule of values.
So you know what it is.
Yes.
And you say, well, we can buy the granite top for $100. Are they gonna mark the new granite top?
Even better.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we early on negotiated here is what we call direct purchasing.
Okay.
Out of markup.
Okay.
So we immediately took out of their contract for instance, the concrete that's
Yeah.
being poured in that building today
Yeah.
is not being paid for by Garrett's. I'm paying for it because I don't have to pay the taxes.
I don't think you're gonna have an argument with anybody, you know, when you guys say, hey, you know, for $10,000, we're gonna get this, guys, but we need to do it now. We're not gonna install this other stuff and then
Correct.
3 years later say, oh, you know what I just saw in Sunny House? We should have done this.
And that's what we're trying to
I
do.
don't think you're gonna get that argument. You know, if it's a big ticket item, we're gonna have to.
And everyone's gonna look at it and we'll make an
and
intelligent
revisit.
decision.
My overall grand scheme picture type of thing is like, when it comes to capital improvements and our fiduciary obligations to the voters and, you know, taxes, keep them down and do this and do that. The government, when they do a capital project, or they say, oh, you know, we're gonna do this, this, and this, they can go out and print money. You know, our means of getting revenue is raise taxes, you're exploring and being creative. And by the way, kudos to everybody for going out there, having this vision, trying to make the town better and better and better. That's great. The question is, how do we do the money? And one of them is, oh yeah, you know, we pay down some of the debt. We can go out, maybe, we're gonna vote on it, we're gonna explore that avenue. Interest rates are extremely low, and, you know, if that can be done, and if that is what everybody pleases to do, maybe a solution to do those things. And then, what is the priorities of, well, Councilman Einstein wants another pickleball court, Councilman Singer wants to move the thing over there, Councilman Lustin, Vice Mayor Lustin, or?
anything is fine.
Okay.
Just not late for dinner.
You know, wants some amenity done, wherever it might be. So, everybody has that list, and we gotta kinda get a little bit of a consensus, and you've gotta get a feel as to that. I'm gonna throw out something really that goes against my way of thinking to some degree, as an old timer, is that, yeah, you know, Alex, 52% of the town has changed. There's a lot of people here, they get that tax bill, they don't care. I want a Chanel pocketbook because $18,000 for a pocket. I don't care. I want the pocketbook. I want the amenity. There's some people, yeah, it cost me $14. I'll worry about the taxes later, whatever it might. It's not on their minds. It's not even on their horizon. And if you raise their taxes, they might not even care. You know, and I'm not saying to do that, but I think that the mindset is change. You know, you think, oh, everybody cares about taxes. Well, when you see some of the prices being paid for these things, are they? Because they're not even getting a tax. You know, that's another thing. If we could lobby and get a tax deduction for these people, that would be a whole different thing on people's tax returns. But if that'll ever be revisited, I don't know.
Can't count on that.
Yeah, you can't count on that. You know, but right now to get $10,000, you got some people paying $1 million in real estate taxes in Golden Beach, I think, right now. And you know, and other people are buying these houses, and it's not homestead, and their tax burdens. I just want the house. I don't really care what it costs. Condominiums across Florida right now, in this vicinity, maintenance per month, $4,000 a month, 30% increase for insurance. It's got to be passed on to the thing. Nobody to work in the condominiums. They have to pass it on. You know, you go to what I'm going to say, the more elite things compared to where would somebody in Golden Beach buy? You know, Puerto Vida, Williams Island, Bella Mare, over at St. Regis, the Colony, you know, all those places. You go over there, every month, it's a number that you're paying for. So, there's people here, it's a new thing that an old timer like me, I guess, gotta get used to, even though I try to stay abreast with the times, that they do want things, and they don't really look so closely at the price tag. And that's, you know, that's another thing I'm trying to balance.
Well, know that the mayor and I do worry a lot about the 45% that we make, right? And so we try to find balance, and we try to be creative. If you noticed earlier, we didn't say we want another $20 million. We said just maybe let us get back what we paid down, because we realize that there are still 45, maybe 40. I don't know what that number is. We don't know what those numbers are, but we have to be careful with wanting to do too much. And then, of course, how do we maintain it? And more importantly, just like you said earlier, in fact, I had a board meeting last night. I'm the president of my condo, and we lost half of our staff because we were losing them. You know, they were saying, hey, I can go work at McDonald's and make $2 more than what you guys are paying me here. And so we've lost our janitorial stuff. So we've got to be, we are as concerned about what our human costs, our human capital costs are going to be on a moving forward basis. How do we protect our directors and take care of our staff and still provide the resources that we have, and balance the need of offering to our residents. You know, when somebody buys a $16 million house in Golden Beach and they don't have an amenity that they can easily get anywhere else, you know, Sunny Isles Community Center, Aventura has the Performing Arts Center, they have the Community Center, they have all their parks. We just want to make sure that we are being current and we're modernizing and we're being future focused, forward thinking and future focused, and that's what we're trying to do. And that's that's our theme this year. Our theme this year is forward thinking, future focused. And so we want to make sure that we're doing that. And so that's all that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. Again, as your manager, the thing that keeps me worried is I don't want anyone in our community, and especially on the dais, to feel like they have not been a partner in, as we're looking at all of our options. Because the last thing that I would want is for a council member or the residents to feel that this is just something that the mayor and I are trying to cook up and pull a fast one, and that's not working.
I don't know why you would think that way, because everything has been open and in the sunshine and discussed at a meeting.
Fair enough.
I really do believe that. We may not always walk out agreeing on things, but I still do believe that we wouldn't be where we are if we wouldn't have been a progressive council that started years ago with the CIP project, that the mayor first, and I think you were here then, Alex, went down to the podium off the dais and made the proposal for the original CIP project. That was the beginning of what I would call the new Golden Beach. And I think it's very smart that you're looking at the 52, 55% and the other 45% and trying to, you know, balance both options that are there. But I think it's very important that we continue to move forward and at the same time maintain everything that we currently have and that we can maintain what we're still anticipating. So I think it's a smart move to look towards the future and be future focused and make the responsible decisions as we go on.
Right.
I think it's wrong for anybody to think we haven't been open and above board. We've discussed
And Judy,
everything.
you said something that's correct, responsible decisions. We're not making any decisions without the full council approval and everyone in agreement, and to be
whole town,
responsible.
you're listening.
We have a fiduciary responsibility to not put the town in any financial, you know,
Right, yeah, and-
issues.
And we know our residents well. When they're not happy with something, they show up at meetings.
Yeah, you know, Mayor,
And everybody so far has been thrilled, and I think it would be irresponsible not to look
To-
towards
to-
the future.
to that point, I just wanna offer this to our elected officials. We know that there are some residents that even if we say we'll pay your taxes for you, will not be happy with anything that we do. And so as we move forward, be cognizant of, you know, who's putting things in your ear, and let's not be too afraid of having to tell someone the answer is, we're still moving forward even though you don't agree. Because, you know, we do have a select number of residents that just would never agree with anything that we're doing, just keep that in mind, because that's important as well.
Okay. With that, Alex, I think you've got excellent summary. Do you have anything else to add on the updates? Okay, so with the updates complete, I'm gonna go back to good and welfare, okay? There hasn't been an opportunity for good and welfare. Is there anyone here to speak on good and welfare?
Here, real quick, staff that's at home on Zoom, you guys are excused for the meeting, thank you.
Are we good on good and welfare? Real quick, some mayor comments. I want to wish everyone a happy and healthy new year. My hat's off to the town for giving such great gifts to the residents. I know it was a big success. People really, really appreciated the little gifts. You know, something I read that when I got the gift I thought of, a little saying that says you can never use up creativity. And it seems like the town staff always is creative with, you know, some unique gifts. And I got a lot of compliments on the gifts, and it was very well thought out, and I know the residents really appreciated it. The New Year's Eve party was so much fun. It was elegant, it was exciting, it was a great event. A great job by our Michael Glidden and Giselle Krept and her team. I mean, it was a really nice event, and I know the residents really enjoyed it. It was unfortunate COVID affected it, but it was still a great turnout. Brings up my next item. COVID has not yet left. I don't think it's going to depart anytime shortly, but I encourage everyone to be smart, be considerate, and in town you need to wear a mask. Sorry.
It's echoing. Close the door, it's echoing. Sorry.
When you're in town, you need to wear a mask. If you're coming in town, you need to have an appointment. Everyone is very, very still concerned. Unfortunately, I thought it'd be long gone by now, but obviously it's not. Hopefully in the next few months it is. So just be considerate, be smart, be respectful. You know, if you're sick, stay home. If you're test positive, don't go around anybody else. And let's get through this together. Like the town manager went over everything in detail, did an excellent job. You know, progress is exciting. There is a lot of construction going on in town. If you drive during the day down Golden Beach Drive, you have to weave in and out of traffic 4, 5, 6 times. There's hot wire doing the installation. There's road construction. There's new construction. There's renovation construction. There's public works out there. 3 things. 1, you gotta drive slowly. 2, you gotta listen to people that are directing the traffic. The other day I saw someone police officer was trying to direct the traffic and a car just ignored him. And the 3rd thing is, do not be on your cell phone, especially driving through Golden Beach Drive, because you're weaving in and out of traffic. You've got kids running in and out of the street, and it's a mess, and it's not going to get any better. But the good news is it's progress, and you know, sometimes you got to take a step back to go forward, and I think all this progress is really going to pay off at the end. I'm very, very excited about this year. As the town manager said, we've got so many things, you know, to be excited about. I think 2022 is going to be a huge year for town of Golden Beach, for the residents. Hopefully, you know, our values, even if they stay the same, is phenomenal, but I feel that with everything going on, I think our values will continue to go up, and that's why it's so important that we keep the right foot forward and progress aggressively. So with that, I'll turn it over to council comments. Since there's only 2 of us, Ben, I'll let you start.
Here's 3.
Oh, 3 of us, I mean, two that have spoke, right.
Okay. I address this to the chief and the town manager. You have a lot of children in town. I do not know what the law is concerning riding scooters, motorbikes, things that look like electric bikes with wide tires that look like motorcycles, which I would say people that are under 15 years old are riding up and down the roadways. I mean, it is, and sometimes they're riding them on the sidewalks, and people are walking on the sidewalks. I don't know if they're allowed to ride them on the roadways. The scooters, I don't know if they are allowed to ride them on the roadways with 3 kids attached to them. Number 3, as a safety measure, nobody is wearing a helmet, which to me is just totally crazy that the parents are allowing this to happen. For God's sake, if you just look at the emergency room reports, and it used to be rollerblades, the amount of head injuries without helmets and wrist injuries without helmets, now it's switched over to scooters and the electric bikes. They're astronomical figures that are happening, and I don't know. I feel it's a duty of our town to try to educate these people. I don't know if it's, I'm not into arresting a kid because he's on his motorbike in the street. You know, that's not gonna win us a popularity contest. But at the same time, when they're riding it on the sidewalk and really not paying attention to people who are walking with dogs and leashes, and, you know, people have 4 dogs they're walking, and they're not paying attention to these people. The kids are having a good time, and it's almost a little too cavalier. I think, I don't want a date, I'd like to try to stop a dangerous situation from happening, if possible. And I don't know how to do it, except try to bring it to your attention.
Mayor, if I could just respond real quick, I typically don't respond to council comments, but I do want to on this issue. So as you know, because of my new training, so as it relates to motorized vehicles and the use of the roadway, so A1A is declared a shared roadway. So you're allowed to, on A1A, use bicycles, scooters, and share the road with motorists. So what we're seeing is a spillover effect on Golden Beach Drive, and so you're seeing a lot more cyclists and whatnot. So the rule is 30 cc's. So if your vehicle is less than 30 cc's in caliber, you're allowed to use it without a driver's license and without a tag on the vehicle, okay? And so a lot of what you're seeing in this behavior is what I call the rites of passage of kids just being kids. And here's where the responsibility lies. The responsibility lies in parents, and parents taking ownership of their children and teaching them. The burden does not fall on the administration or the agency or the city. As you know, Florida is not a mandatory helmet state, so we cannot cite you for not wearing helmets. But we all know the effects of people who do not wear helmets and the damage that it causes if they were to be injured. So recently, this has become a little bit of a hot potato topic because we are seeing more and more kids wanting to use the roadways to ride their skateboards and everything else. And so it's a balancing act. We did start a campaign back in November to educate our youth on responsible sharing the roadway and the sidewalk campaign. And so just know that the chief is aware of it. We are doing outreach to our parents, especially for kids who seem to have a reckless behavior, trying to get the parents to be a little bit more aware of how their kids are behaving when they're not watching. And so we'll do a better job on that.
Second, as you were talking about our roadways, and I forgot how we passed this ordinance, and forgive me, or resolution, but I know at one point in time, we said that, and I know while we're doing construction, we have people guiding, that's one thing. But the other evening, there was some event at somebody's house, and they were parking on the street. And there were other cars on the other side of the street. And I guess I visualized it firsthand of what would happen if an ambulance came, because it took me 15 minutes to get through Golden Beach about 10 o'clock at night, you know, for something going on. And I told the person, I said, you know, you're gonna get a ticket here if you leave your car like this, even for a minute, because the car can't get through. And he had his flashers on, and he didn't care. He was cavalier about it. And, you know, I went home, I went to sleep, forgot about it. But, you know, I think the police, for the most part, are pretty vigilant about it, but there is sometimes those events where people who don't live in Golden Beach kind of are still doing that parking.
Well, we're seeing a lot of delivery vehicles, like Uber Eats and those type of people who are doing the flashers and blocking the roads, and we're trying to be more aggressive in that area as well.
When they do that.
Yeah, now don't forget, we do not have we never enacted the one side of the road only parking, so we don't have that.
We don't have.
Okay. What we do have is you need to leave enough space between just different facing vehicles so the car can zigzag through.
But people have been abiding by the one side of the street. Whenever there's an event, like I see on the islands.
If there's a hired police officer,
Okay.
so on whenever we have an off-duty police officer, we try to ask everyone to park on one side, but if there's not, we're seeing a little bit of these zigzagging, and especially during the day. So if you notice during the day, that's when you have the most on both sides of the streets, and you have to because of the landscape companies and the deliveries and the concrete trucks, and so it's been challenging.
No, I agree. And as to the landscape trucks, some of the landscape trucks, like it's a truck with a huge, some of them have a small trailer, and some of them have a trailer that seem to go on for half a mile. I mean, they're long.
And we welcome those.
We like the bigger ones?
Yes, because the bigger ones are the ones who are making sure that they're taking away their debris with them and not just leaving it and trying to skirt the rules as it relates to removal. It's the smaller ones that we end up having to constantly fight and chase down because, as you know, your code requires that if you have a company provide you with landscape services, that company must remove their debris and not leave that for the town to dispose of, and then the town has to pay for that disposal. So we encourage the bigger ones, believe it or not, because of that issue.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, with that, I'll turn over to the Vice Mayor.
Just one thing, most people know in town that for years I've been doing Memorial Day and Veterans Day. And the past couple of years, it's basically being kind of quiet because of COVID. But we have a fellow, Henry Massey, who's a sergeant who was a sentinel for the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, that we love. He comes to every single event we've had for the past 15 years. I love this man. And he invited me this year to the 100th celebration of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, all the sentinels. And I'm embarrassed to say that because of COVID, not that I had COVID, but I was concerned about it, I didn't go. But he made such an event over this because he loves Golden Beach so much that he presented me and the town of Golden Beach with a flag.
Wow.
And I want you to know what it says. It says, from the 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard. This flag was flown at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, Arlington National Cemetery, on November 6, 2021, by the soldiers who guard the unknowns. It is presented in honor of the unknown soldiers to Vice Mayor Judy Luskin of the town of Golden Beach. Thank you for your unwavering support to our country. Soldiers never die until they are forgotten. Tomb guards never forgot. And it was signed by the tomb guards.
Wow.
So this,
Wow, that's very nice.
I can't tell you what this means to me because he is a wonderful person. Alex, I know you know him well.
How old is he now?
He must be in his 50s.
I thought he
No,
was
he's older.
Older, 60.
Yeah, I thought he was
I'm not
70.
good at
He's been with the town for a long time, though.
Yeah.
Yes, he comes every time and he does, you know, he clicks his heels 21 times and does the whole routine, and it's such an honor for the town to be able to get something
That's
like this.
beautiful.
So I request of you, Alex, and the mayor, that he has an extremely active role this May in the,
Absolutely.
okay, and of course, me too.
Well, you
So I
deserve
thought
it.
this-
Great job, Judy.
Thank
You
you.
deserve it.
I
and
think,
you
I think it's just a wonderful
dedicated
thing
a lot
that
of-
we do this.
a lot of time
Really
to
nice.
it, and
Thank you. I think the town should be proud.
All right, without any other comments, Alex, can you give us a quick summary of the film permit fees collected?
I'm sorry. Hey Glenn, can you give me my chance to speak?
Who's that?
Oh.
Oh, Ken. I'm sorry. Go on.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I want to say, first, what an amazing New Year's party, that we had. I just thought, I've heard so many people say what a great time they had. And, I just thought the staff and everyone involved just did an amazing job. Second, I want to comment with as happy as I am to see how fast Power is moving. I talked to Alex before and just wanted to make sure, that we mentioned what's going on with a lot of people's, sods being torn up. And you can just see the lines going across town. I just wanted him to address, that we are doing something about that at some point. The next thing is I wanted to mention that the fire pit has been out for a while, and a couple of people have mentioned it to me. I'm just saying that we are going to fix it. I wasn't sure when I saw the hotwire responses, seeing that very few people have responded, I wasn't sure if there's anything that we should be doing to assist Hotwire in getting responses from people so that we get more people activated and on board quicker. And finally, I had mentioned at the council meeting previously about trying to start a wine night or doing that, but and I would like to start it but when it gets safe, where people start feeling comfortable with the COVID situation. So I just want to bring those things up, and also give my support for trying to make this town better, and if we can do it where we are being financially responsible, I'd love to see that happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Councilman Bernstein. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Moving on, Alex, can you give us a update on permit fees collected in 2021?
Last year we had 38 shoots in town where we collected over $30,000 in fees. The report's attached for your review.
With that, ordinance, the second reading from town attorney, do you have anything?
Yes, please.
So-
I just want to report to you that we had a successful summary judgment hearing in the Shaheen matter. The court entered an order finding that the property has been and is currently a nuisance. And what I'd like to do is ask for an executive session to talk about where we go from here. So we'll set that with you, but I do
have it.
Thank you.
Seems like with me.
Mr. Attorney, if I can.
Yes.
Is it legal to have it via Zoom? Can we do a Zoom executive session?
I think we can, yes. Under the circumstances and the conditions that we're dealing with.
Because
Yeah,
we may
so
be
we
able to
will-
schedule it faster if we do
Yes,
that.
so long as everybody is within a private space and there's nobody else that's within the meeting, we can do that.
Okay. Mayor,
But I know you asked us to come back after the January hearing, which we had, and regroup with you all, so we're ready to do that.
and if not, Mayor, we would probably set it for some time, like the next council meeting, an hour before.
Okay.
So we'll work with the attorney on that.
Great news, and look forward to the hearing. Moving on, ordinance is second reading, there are none. Ordinance is first reading, there's none. Quasi judicial resolution, there are none. We'll go over the items on the consent agenda. Item number P1, official minutes of the November 16th, 2021 regular town council meeting. Item P2, resolution of town council authorizing the purchase of 4 Chevrolet Tahoe police vehicles. Item number P3, resolution of town council authorizing us to join the state of Florida as a participant in the a memorandum of understanding the allocation and use of opioids litigation settlement proceeds. Those 3 items are on the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Those items pass. Moving on to town resolutions. Q5, a resolution of town council approving professional services for a contract between the town of and Estrada Hanhos and Company for financial advisory services.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Golden Beach, Florida, approving a professional services contract between the Town of Golden Beach and Estrada Hinojosa and Company, Inc. concerning financial advisory services and providing for an effective date.
Any motion to approve?
Motion to,
Need a second?
second.
Alex, you want to just give a quick summary? We talked about it, but
We talked about it during my council, during the CIP update, so in order for us to start exploring all of the potential revenue sources and ways that we can bring in revenue or even restructure our debt or see what our debt capacity is, under the SEC rules, no financial team can engage us in dialogue unless we have an agreement with them and have them under review. So this is an agreement on an hourly basis. The mayor and I will set an amount not to exceed, really it will be under my threshold. But it allows us to engage Estrada Hinojosa. As you know, Estrada Hinojosa has been the town's financial advisors since we chose not to renew our relationship with PFN back in 2008. They helped us with the bond restructuring. They helped us with the note with City National Bank for the building. They know our resources. They know our community. Lourdes Aberdeen, who's the partner here in Miami, works for a lot of cities here in South Florida. We trust them. They're a reputable firm, and we ask you to allow us to continue our relationship with Aberdeen and Estrada.
Were they our bond counsel?
No, so bond counsel is different. So bond counsel, we've used 2 firms. We've used Weiss Jordan Hoffman and Belinda Harry's firm. I don't remember their firm. Bond counsel serves in a different capacity. So bond counsel helps make sure that the instruments to secure the debt and the lights are structured. Financial advisors go out and talk to the markets, try to see what the market conditions are. They look at your rates, they look at your debt capacity, they help strengthen your financial rating. Our ratings, by the way, we're able to secure it again. It's big A, small A2. We've been very proud to keep it that way for the last 12 years. But they help with the financial side of it, seeing whether or not it makes sense to go out to bond versus a private placement. By the way, private placement seems to be doing pretty well. One of the local cities recently was able to get a private placement of an amount of over $15 million for less than 2%. I won't say which city that is, but they've done some. So there are some. The market conditions are favorable today, which is why I mentioned earlier. I know that there's this idea of maybe waiting towards the end of the year. If we see that we have the capacity, we may ask to do this sooner than later, because we do not want the market conditions to start working against us and we lose the opportunities that are available to us today. The market is changing. We're starting to see that, and so we want to make sure that we time this right.
Are you familiar with a CDD?
I'm not familiar with a CDD.
yeah.
It doesn't apply to this situation, does it?
No.
Okay, but the person who raises money for the workers, to husband and wife, do you know, for the Christmas gift, you know, Kessler?
Yeah, Kathy Kessler.
Yeah, he just happens to be very well versed in CDDs. He is chief counsel at First Miami Securities, who does a lot of the CDDs in the state. And
He does it for home builders, though.
he does it for home builders, but he may be a resource as to a number, you know, the percentage rate of whatever else. I know he's financial. So who is the one that's going to advise you whether or not you can replace the principal pay down that you've done?
So let's be clear about this. We will not be able to reissue our current debt on the GO bond, okay? So because of the way we restructured the last note, it's not advantageous for us to try to retire that, right?
Or call it a refinance.
Or refinance,
Okay.
okay? So we're gonna keep that, what we're looking at is our debt with City National Bank, our balance of what we paid down, looking at our debt capacity, and determining, could we borrow a new issuance?
Okay.
That new issuance may roll the City National Bank into it, right? So we
Okay.
may say, okay, we know we paid down 7, and we have 4 over here, let's
Okay.
issue a
Okay.
$13 million note. And so those are the type of things, and if, we may go out the bond, we may go to private placement, depending on which one is yielding better, whichever one has a lower cost of issuance. And those factors, and so so what you're allowing me to do is to continue the dialogue. We cannot engage them in a more structured dialogue until there's an agreement because of the SEC rules. It doesn't allow that. That's what we're asking.
Not that there's ever a perfect time for this stuff, but doesn't make any, because so many new homes are gonna come on board in the tax collector with a different tax revenue, is that gonna have any impact on how these people think in terms of their algorithm?
No, because again, it goes to our capacity and our financial forecast. Don't forget, and I know that everyone's excited about all these quote unquote new homes. We aren't seeing, so a couple things that we are noticing. Property appraisers being very conservative in his approach in terms of what he's listing assessed values at, right? So all because a home got $25 million in the open market, that doesn't mean that we're gonna see a $25 million assessment.
Right.
So we have seen them adjusting a lot of their numbers, and there's actually a managers meeting scheduled for March between all of the managers and the property appraisers to say what's going on here. And land value versus home value, and there's a lot of that going on. So I don't want us to get too excited. The other thing is I want to remind the council as to what I said earlier in terms of our growing demands on our general fund. There's insurance, there's utility, there's your human capital costs that we need to be aware of are gonna place a big burden. And so what we're looking at is our capital needs versus our general fund needs. And we've always tried to keep our capital needs under the debt service number. And again, the pledge that we've always made is that we'll never have a millage rate, hopefully, so long as I'm manager, higher than 8.5 mils. We're currently at 8.4 mils, and we would like to keep 8.5 mils where it is. And of course, all of our residents have always asked if we can lower it, let's lower it. I can tell you, we're not proposing to lower our millage rate anytime soon. But the idea is to find out how much capacity we have within our, I've lost form, so I have to stop.
You know you have to stop?
Why do we have to stop?
Because we need 3 people.
I have no form.
We have,
You just tell them we
They
can't.
don't count social
we
form.
have Bernstein.
They don't count social form. Sorry. So looking at the capacity that we have within our budget, so that's kind of what we're looking at. And so, again, very preliminary, no doors are closed, no commitments are being made,
Looking at all options.
looking at all our options.
Any other comments? Any public comments? Councilman Bernstein, anyone else?
He's no longer on.
He was gone. With that, I'll close it to public, close it to comments. Roll call, please.
Mayor Singer,
Excuse me, yes.
Vice Mayor Luskin,
Yes.
Councilmember Einstein.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, moving right along, items of discussion, direction to town manager. Alex, you want to go over the veteran memorial plaque?
Yeah, Mayor, here's what I'd like to do since we don't have a full quorum. So we presented to you, as you know, we've now dedicated the Center Island cul-de-sac, our Veterans Memorial, and the flag has been up and it's illuminated and it's beautiful. There is a section where we are gonna put a perpetual plaque, not with names, but to recognize that area as where we honor those men and women who have served. And so we've given you 3 plaques to choose from. Here's what we're gonna do, instead of discussing today, give me your feedback on which one you like, and we'll see what the consensus is, and at the February meeting, we'll have a more active discussion in terms of which plaque should go on that 3rd column. Because it needs to honor the sacrifice and honor those who have served, but we don't want it to be the perpetual plaque where the name changes often. This will always be in a room where we can control it. So just take a look at it. We're not making any decisions tonight. Let me know which one you like out of the 3. Get it back to us. I want Councilmember Luskin to really be a big part in terms of what we're gonna put there. We eventually need to order the plaque sooner than later. But I want you to just look at what we provided you in the packet tonight. And so you'll see, the 3 columns, where it's gonna be and which of the 3 we should put. And if you have something different that you'd like, send it to us so we can take a look at it.
The only thing I'll add, you had one of them had the 5 branches of the armed services. Actually, a couple of months ago, there was a 6th one added.
Yeah, it'll be amended.
I was a little surprised.
The Space Force?
I did
Yeah.
not know it was officially, made a branch.
But it's assigned to the Air Force, so it's kind of weird how we
Okay.
do that.
I would keep it simple, I like the last one.
Which is the last
The
one?
last plaque, the simple one, just dedicated to men and women who serve the country.
Yeah.
So
That's
proud.
That's our
Just
least
clean,
favorite.
what?
That's our least favorite.
Really? It's just clean looking. I mean, it doesn't matter. The middle one's a little busy.
All right,
We'll wait till February.
Yeah, real quick, also, there were a couple council members, who expressed that they weren't aware that there was a meeting tonight. And so they had scheduling conflicts. I wanna be, clear, our meetings are the 3rd Tuesday of every month. The council has asked that we host them at 6 o'clock instead of 7, unless we change them at a prior council meeting. So on your calendar, I'm gonna ask that you block the 3rd Tuesday of every month off your calendars. And I would block it as early as 5 to 9 o'clock, so that there's not scheduling conflicts in the future. I will try this year not to move council meetings. But I know that last year we had to move a couple of them. And typically when we move council meetings, if you guys remember, they're always towards the end of the year. During the beginning of the year, we don't move them. It's when the holidays come into play. The dates are on the website, and so just block the 3rd Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. And that will be very helpful for the administration. The next meeting is Tuesday, February 15th at 6 o'clock. Until the council wants us to move it back to 7. But
No, we're good at 6. Everyone's good at 6?
Yes.
Daylight
Mayor,
savings time.
Yes.
Mayor, we will continue to ask our residents and our staff to participate via Zoom until there is a better control on the Omicron. That does not mean that if a resident shows up, they will be denied access to the room. But we strongly ask all of our residents to do so. Also, we will continue to provide testing for council and staff that are in the room as part of our safety protocols. With that, a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good meeting, gentlemen, ladies.
Very good.
Thank you for the plaque.
Oh, yeah, that was a surprise to us. They have been wanting to, they wanted to present to you that at the
Orlando meeting.
Conference.
Yes, in August.
And I thought it was very nice that they wanted to come present it to you guys in person. So congratulations for your 20 years of service. I'll have the Orpheus sent to your house tomorrow. That's awesome.
Isn't that nice?
Beautiful.
She's so frustrated.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Night.
Thank you. Did they show up, or was it contested?